Tzliach, Shavua Tov V'rach. So, Rabotai, the last 2 weeks we've been going through the different parts of Shachri, and a few people mentioned to me that it's a bit getting complicated. Okay, so I thought we should have a general shiur about Kavanah in general, and then connect it to what we're doing. So just to say, just as an introduction, if we take together all the shiurim that we did in Arvit in the beginning, and all the one right in the first shiur we did when Chaim wasn't with us, then and all we've done recently in Shachrit, and we put them together, we more or less got most of what we need for Shachrit. Let's go back. We said when we learned Arvit that the Biurim already there was no hechalot. There's just two hechalot in the first bracha, second bracha before Shema. And then we get to Shema, we had the 13 sections, which is from the Rashash, remember? Yeah. Right? And those 13 sections, which we did in the Siddur, you were with us, yeah. It's the beginning. Yeah, so then we go all the way to the end of Shemona Esrei when we did this Vukusim Shalom. Right? Now, what we've been doing recently in Shachrit, after we got the Siddur printed for Shachrit, is the bits which is to get to those 13 parts. There's a whole other section which is in many ways much more complicated when we first start than those sections, right? Those sections you'll find was quite good. It was easy to go through more or less. We just went and marked them in the Siddur. You could see we understood. Even we did Atbach, which is also quite complicated, which is the Achor Nuk, yeah, if you remember. So what are we doing? We're bringing in the new Birurim. We have to take them up to Atzilut. But before we get to Atzilut, we get to the Brachot of Shema. There's the Hechal Hava de Bria, which means Hechal of Chesed of Bria. And that's where the action starts, yeah? And first we bring down the Vak de Gadlut. The Vak de Gadlut in Hechal Hava de Bria is the first Mochin that we get. Right? The Mochin of Abba, there's Mochin of Ima. The ones of Ima is called Yasut. There's the Achor, there's the Panim. And there's the Mochin of Abba ve'Ima Ilain, which is called also Achor and Panim, which is from Be'ahava onwards. So to reach Be'ahava, we're starting with the Mochin. We're actually bringing down the Hamshachat Mochin. So starts from Echad of Shema. We bring Vak, the Gadlut, we call it Tidfuna, which means the Achor of Yisrael Saba Utfuna. Yisrael Saba Utfuna together is called Ima. If you remember, it's called Ima. Remember this? We said there's an Ima and there's an Abba, a general one. Then within that Ima, we call Yisrael Saba Utfuna, and that's called the Achar and the Panim of Ima. And then in Abba, right, there's Ima ve'Ima, Abba Illa'in, which is the Ima Abba, which is another code word together for Abba, which is the Achor and the Panim of Abba. Yeah? So if you're looking at the Ima as the general Ima, that's the whole of Yasu, Achor and Panim. Tvuna and Yashas. If you're looking about the Abba Kolel, so the Abba Kolel is called Abba ve'Ima Illa'in. And that's called the Achor and Panim, which is together Abba. Yeah, so I have to bring 4 sets of slamim, and all those 4 sets of slamim, right? Each one has 10 sfirot, and we have to bring each one and bring them down into the kelim, and that's basically the Hamshachat Mochin. So we have to do 4 lots. So the first lot begins in Echad of Shema. In Echad of Shema, we bring down only the 2 bottom thirds, which is called Vak, the Vak of Tvuna in Milat Echad. So if you want to see that in the Siddur, we're doing Chazara now. We're going back to that. Okay, so whoever can find the page number, I haven't got my Siddur with me, but I'll have to estimate it around, I'd say page 320 maybe. Not bad, I'm on Le'olam. I got to Le'olam not far from, it's a bit before that. So it's around 311, somewhere around there is where I am. There we are. Oh, Baruch haba, just asking about you. We're doing a bit of a chazara now, and everything we've done until now. Okay? So we're dividing it into two lots of shurim. The first shurim which we did in Arvit, which we're going back to now, and then the ones which we did about Shachrit, which is about the Biurim, which if you put the two together, you've got most of Shachrit already. But you just don't realize it. But if you do, then you're going over it anyway. So if you look on page 306, okay, it's the Pnimiut on the top of the page. Right? So this is the beginning of the Hamshachat Mochin. So when we did those 13 sections of the Rashash in Arvit, This is true for Shachrit, it's also true for Arvit, it's the same, right? Whereas when we did those 13 sections, they begin more or less over here where we're talking about, right? The bits that we did in Shachrit, which is the first part of Shachrit, which has been very more complicated going through the Echalot, is only to get to this, right? In order to get to this part, where we start bringing down the Mochin, 306. Actually, it's not 306. You're right, because I've taken out page 338. 338 is the official page number. 338. Yes, if you count from the first page of the book, it'll be the 306th page, because there's a whole Kaddish section missing, right? But the actual page number is 338 in the Siddur. Okay, so now what we're saying is like, oh, let me just be Meshatef this in the WhatsApp, in the, what did you call it, the Zoom. Zamzumim. Number the bed. Okay, Zamzumim. Okay, so we are on page 338 in the Siddur of Shachrit, and it says Pnimiyut the Pnimiyut, and number 22 in the yellow box, Vak the Gadlut the Iman. That means we did 22 different stages in Echad of Shema. Right, this is stage number 22 of Echad of Shema. Top right, yellow box, right? So we got to stage 22 in the word of Echad of Shema. Understand where we are, right? So now we've already got to Echalava de Bria, and in Echal de Bria we did some other things in Shema Hashem Elokeinu Hashem. It's called Mochin de Yenika, and now we come to the Gadlut. So this Gadlut is the Gadlut of Ima, which means the Gadlut of Ima. Which part of Ima? The Tvuna of Ima. There's Yisrael Saba and there's Tvuna and Ima, right? So this is the Tvuna of Ima, which is called the Achor. Okay, so what do we see? We can see the Mochin that we're bringing down. And we can see how they have to be nimshach together with. So here you've got the nanachi, that havaya kiyas, and then when it's got the black boxes with the black headings in the middle, moach chokhmah, moach bina. That's actually the mochin, right? That we bring down. And if we keep on going down, we've got the kelim at the bottom. So here we can see that the chesed gurati feret of the mochin is going into the Chabad. And then underneath that, there'll be the Nai going into the Chagat. Right? So if we would draw it on the board for a second. And so we said there's Tuna and Yashas. Right? And then there's Abba, Ima, and then Abba. Each one of these have got 10. Right? This is called Achor and Panim, and the whole lot's called Achor. Right? This is called Achor, Panim, of the Panim. So that's Ach the Ach, that's Panim the Ach, Panim the Achor the Panim, and Panim the Panim. Yeah, we're only dealing with this one at the moment. So in this one, you've got Chabad, Chagat, and Nai. So in Milah Echad Dishma, we're putting the bottom two into the kelim of Chabad and Chagat. Understand? We're putting in Milat Echad of Shema, we're putting the bottom two into the top two of the kelim. That means these are kelim and these are kelim, and there's empty kelim over here, and the Chabad is hanging on over there on the top. Right? Understand? So you got three. So the bottom two going into the top two tiers of the kelim. That's in Echad Shema. Then we will get to Elokei Shemona Esrei. Then we'll bring these ones down next to these ones here, behind it, like that. then Chabad will come into they both the top ones will be the kelim of Chabad. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And then when you get to Hagadol, Hagibor, now we'll push them down. And then we'll be in its right place. And then we'll start. Now, also, when you said, okay, you have to bring down the bottom of the three Yashas, the Nile will be over there. Then Gomel, you bring down Chagat. And then Konakon, you bring them all down, and we finish everything. And then Be'ava, we bring the Panim, and then the Shmonesra, we have to be Mamshich all these ones. Okay? So that's basically what we're up to over here. Okay? So I'm not going to. I could go through the Siddur now to all those places, but it'll take a few minutes. But is anybody not clear about what we're saying when it comes to this? Everyone clear because we've done it before. Yeah, it's clear. It's not complicated. Yeah. Now to get the birurim to where they have to be, that's the first part of Shachrit. Okay. Now in the first part of Shachrit, the story is different. In the first part of Shachrit, we have to tell a different tale. We want to get to Echad of Shema, right? That's all we're interested in Tabuna at the moment. So we want to get to the situation here of Echad of Shema, where we do the Chabad Chagat, and we bring in the Vak. Here's the Vak. Yeah, this is the Vak that we want. So the Birim are down below. Now that means in the beginning, in the Maseh Bereshit, there was Chesed, there was Keter, Chochmah, Bina. They were, the participants of them were fixed. And then underneath them, there were 7 melachim. And there are many participants like this. And from all of them, the bottom 7 fell down. And that's called the Shvat HaKilim. The Mitat HaMelachim. And so you've got these 7 melachim which have to be fixed. Right? Now, all that came into the world in the first place was the nefesh of everything. Right? Which equals the Malchut. Right? That means to say, you've got, stop for a second now. I'm going to start something new and add something. The one thing we're adding in new for today, we have talked about it before, but I'm going to introduce it for now because it's a good place to bring it in. Originally, there was every time I go to something, I think maybe I should go to the stage before that. Yeah, let's take all this off again and we'll come back to it. Okay. So if you learn Otzrot, you know that in the beginning there were 4 Orot which came out. There was in Ak, there was Ab, and around it was Sag, and then there was a Ma, and the same height as the Ma was Ben, like this. So then different kinds. So you've got Ab, Sag, Ma, and Ben. Okay, that's what came out when they came out originally. Now,
are they parallel to each other or within each other?
the Ma and Ben is parallel,
Okay.
right? But everything else is one above the other. Now, when you come to Olam, this was Olam Ak, Adam Kadmon, right? Now, Atzilut is next to it, and the Kav goes down the middle. So that's all Kedusha in the middle. That's where the Kav ends off in the middle, right? Now, Olam Atzilut is over here. Because from Ab came out Achaf, Ozen Chotam Peh of Ak, and then basically eventually over here you're going to build Olam Atzilut. Okay, so that's just a bit of information. There was 4 Orot, Ab, Sag, Ma, Ben. Also known as Tanta, Ta'amim, Nekudot, the Tziot, and Tagim, right? And then you get Olam Atzilut. So this Olam Atzilut here is what we want to look at. That's what we build. That's the Atzilut that we in Shemona Esrei and all the Ashrafi. That's the Atzilut that we want to build. Another Olam called Olam Atzilut. Some say it's around that. Some say it's a separate. Rav Shimon Agassi says it's a separate olam in front of it because from the eyes, when they look down, it created this olam from the tibur of Ak in the middle somewhere, right? So now, where did the oral come from? Over here from Ma'al Ben. There's a zivug of Ma'al Ben that creates that zilut. Okay. Now this zivug of Ma'al Ben should be very simple. The ketzer of Ma'al with the ketzer of Ben, the chokhmah of Ma'al. Eventually, you'll get an olam atzilut, and there'll be a zachar side and a nekeva side. That's how it should have been. But because of the galut and the Bikram Elachim and all the problems, it didn't come out. What's called the Chalukat Shefa, the building of the Patzifim is not equal. You got 5 of this and 4 of that and 1 of this, and then sometimes it goes into each one of them. So in the end, when you're building on a Matzilut, you're going to have this. You're going to have arich. This is going to be the first part of arich. Yeah, there's going to be 5 parts of arich, and then there'll be Abba, Eva, Zar, no. Yeah. So when you build these parts of thing, first you do, instead of doing just arich, you do arich venuk. So there's a male side, there's the zachar, and there's the nekeva. Right? And in each one of these, there's a tzad ma and a tzad ben. There's more kaf from both. You understand? Now, what happened was originally when all the oral that we said came out, all that came out was the malchut of Ben. All this that we created over here was only from the malchut of Ben. That means Ben has got 10 sfirot, and from all of that came out was only the malchut of Ben. So you've got another 9 for Ben and another 10 for Ma, which didn't yet come out, and they only come out. So every day when we come to make a tikkun, we have to add in 19 parts. We've only got 1 out of 20 parts, which is the malchut of the Ben called the nefesh, which came out of Maaseh Bereshit. And even when it came out, it fell down, and that's the birim that we have to bring from below. So in the birim, there's 1/20th of what we need, right? So if you take the birim up to the olamot until we get to Atzilut, and then in a particular place where the zivug takes place, which is in a chad of Shiur, we're going to bring down another 19 parts. And then they're going to wait, and we're going to bring chor, panim. But there's 19 parts that have to come out from that zivug, which is not yet there. So taking these bir up is called the Rafach Nitzosim, right? There's 288 parts, and that's called 280 because there's certain labels in the Olamot which adds up to 288. There isn't 288 amounts, right? There's a myriad of different Nitzosim we have to bring in. But we call them Rafach Nitzosim. And that's the birim that we have to bring in every day. So we start bringing them in from which word? Ketoret, right? 11 times Adonut. Ketoret with a vav. So we bring them in over there, and that's basically these birim, which are really only the malchut of Ben, which is the nitzotzit that we have to bring up, the birim, and we take them all the way up to Echalav Adibria in Shema. Yeah, and then we start being moshik the 30 stages of the mochin, to how we bring them down. First the achor, then the panim. Yeah, so we understand that. So now we're connecting the 2 sugyot together. The sugya, the sugya nora'ah of bringing in the mochin, of the aliyat birim, taking them up, and that's when we take them up. There's a system that we have to have the hechalot, and it was so complicated. Yeah. And then Asiyah, Kaddish, Yetzirah, Kaddish, Bria. And we get to Chalavat, the Havad, the Bria, in Shema. Get to Milat Echad, we can start bringing down in the order that we know, Vak, the Mochin of Tvuna, then the Gar in Elokei, and then we go to Yashas, also bring in Elokei, Avram, Elokei, Isaac, Yaakov, we bring that right, left, and middle kav of the Nai, of the ones which belong to Yashas. And then in Gomer, we'll bring down the Chagat and push the Nai down into the second level. And then eventually we'll bring the Gar in Konei HaKol, and everything of Yashas will be done. And then Milat Be'ava, we're going to send it all back up and bring down the Panim as well. And then we have to then give it all back from Zatanuk. Make sense? Yeah? Do you want to see in the Siddur as well? So we'll go quickly through the Siddur. If I can borrow your one, it'll be quicker. I won't put it on the screen over here if I do it just very quickly. So here we've got Echad B'Shema, okay? So you see what you can see on the page, on page 338, is Nanachi, Mochin, this is the Mochin of Ima, and they're going into, it says Chagat. Why is it going to Chagat? Because it's only half the Kavanah. The next page, the rest of it, underneath it, is if you look at the Nikud, on the top of the page, you see Chagat. Chesed, yeah, it's Segol, Shva, yeah, and underneath it, you see the Nai. So as you're going down, right, the top layer, which is the Chagat, goes into the Kelim, those white boxes, which are called Chabad. Now, if you notice, I didn't put a frame around the Kelim, because they're not really Kelim yet. They haven't yet been built. It's where they're going to be built, eventually. They're just hanging in the air, so to speak, right? And then and as you carry on going down, what we see, the Nikud of the Nai, is going, it says there Ba'atu, which is trade between Vedat. I can't explain to you what trade between Vedat is and Chabad, but one day we'll talk about it. There's an extra section which is what we're doing here is not exactly what's on the board, because halacha l'maaseh, the Rashash holds that there isn't Chabad Chagat Nai. There's Chabad, trade between Vedat, and then Chagat, and then Nash. There's actually 4 levels, right? But we're not going to complicate that for today. And that's basically a Chad Shema. That as far as there's also 3 other maslolim that break down into 3 other. There's another 3 other routes. All this is called Pnimiyut de Pnimiyut, which in Arabic we only have Pnimiyut de Pnimiyut. But if you look over here, you'll see then there's another section called Chitzion de Pnimiyut, and then Pnimiyut de Chitzoniyut, which means that all this chef of the biurin that we took up then is mitpazel. It then separates into 3 separate mishpachot. And they break down the kavanah that we're interested in now is only Pnimiyot de Pnimiyot. One day we'll also learn the other 2, right? But as we go through Shemona Esrei, we're building all 3 in the Siddur. In Shemona Esrei, there's all 3 being fixed, but hard enough to do Pnimiyot de Pnimiyot. Okay, and then it will carry on. So here I want to say a little. Stop for a second. A little hakdama. It's impossible to do all the kavanah all the time unless you are the Rashash or someone one of the Gidolei HaMekubalim in the generation. It's really very difficult to do everything all of the time. So what happens is once we learn something and we don't do it, we feel we're doing part of the job, so we feel like we're not doing any of the job. And that's where the Yetzirah wins. That's what that's the champion, that's what he wants to do. And it's okay, so next time I learn it. One day, I'll sit there like the guy with I said the story of the guy with that galot in the airport. I saw a guy pushing a galot, going about to go home, and I said, "You look very happy." And he said to me, "Yeah, I'm going to go home, have a shower, I'm going to go to the Shiur Daf Yomi." And he said, "I'm so happy." He said, "Because I don't understand a word of what the rabbi's talking about, but I know this is my ticket to Olam Haba." He said, "I don't understand it here, but when I go up there, I'll understand it." And he's so proud and happy to do that day after day after day after day for the rest of his life, right? He's like, he works all day long pushing these agalot in the airport, collecting them all and moving there, putting in there. He's doing really nothing of any significance to the world as far as it seems, right? But then he goes to the shul, doesn't understand a word of it, but he knows what he's going to all about because of it, right? And it is like, it's true, right? He gets so inspired. So that is the lowest level that we can aim for, if you think about it in Torah, like, not understanding anything. Baruch Hashem is okay to understand some of it, but anything we do is going to be a bit more than that, right? So now we want to get as much as we can. All right. The fact that we can understand that there's a siddur, there's a pathway, there's a journey. Hamshachat, Mochin, Vakti Gadlut, Ima, Abba, Achor Panim. We're holding somewhere. We understand that, right? So the attainment level to achieve is to be able to look at the siddur and see the parts of it and think, right, I need to be cover for myself, got to fix for myself a level that I want to try and achieve, right? So if I went through the siddur and I did 10 parts of it and I know what I'm doing, right, I'll be really happy and do the kavanot for them. And the rest, I have to go past it and say, you know what? I did learn it and I know it's there and I haven't got time to do everything. So the ones which I am doing, I'm going to be happy. Because you know what? When the Yetzirah comes along, what it says to you, it says, you think you're mekubad, you didn't do it, you don't know, right? They were laughing. If the rabbi next to you who doesn't think you should be studying Kabbalah because you're not 40 years old and because you did this, you can't that, right? Yeah, if he would know the truth, that he'd tell you wasting your time. I'm standing there like a big mekubah with a thing in your hand, and you think it's so high. You don't even know the basic cover or not. You don't even know it properly, right? So then you don't do it. And the Yitzhak wins. So in 40 years from now, it'll still be the same. We also won't do it, right? So, Ella, what should we do? We say, I'm not going to be able to do all of that. So I'm going to be tofes a certain amount that I know that Yetzirah will try and stop me, and Hashem will say to me, that I expect you to do. You know what aliyat Rafach is. You know the Hamshachat, you know Abba Mitzvot Beidin. You know the basics, right? So why aren't you doing it? You know it. The Geulah depends on it. Do you understand the simcha that you get in the Shamayim when you do that? Yeah, and then there's no cheshbonot. This one's bigger, greater. That one knows Shas, and that one knows Yerushalmi. That one knows the Midrashim, and he knows Allah. It's irrelevant. Hashem is only interested in what I have to be doing, and what I know I have to put into action. Right. So I should take the amount I can do for sure, and say I must have the minimum attainment level that is for me, and then I'm going to add the rest. Anything else is a tosefet. And every day I'm going to add to it until eventually you'll see if you do one thing properly and add to that, then you'll do more and more and more and more and more, and you'll build on it. And you never go backwards, only forwards, Bezrat Hashem. Amen. Right? So that's the best way to do it. If you don't do it that way, then everything is a mash, because it ends up that every covenant, even the ones will also be a mash, right? So it's better to take ones that we know we've got the general picture. And even you follow it through and say, I understand that's the station where something's happening. I remember we learned it in Shiur. That's where it goes up. That's where it comes down. Even if you don't do the nitty gritty of the kavanah, and then you can say just okay, one day in the week I'm going to spend an extra 5 minutes this one esrei. I pretend that I was extra slow that day. My mind isn't working, and whoever thinks doesn't matter what other people think, but that's how unfortunately we feel pressure. We think the whole world it really cares about what I'm doing right now. Like the whole shul is watching me, right? David is the best. He takes his tali over his head, he brings it down to his chin. It says in Chesed la Alafim. It says a sefer Chesed la Alafim, right? Papo says that's how you should put your tefillin at least over your tali up to your metzach. Yeah. So he brings it all the way down. Some macholek they say you mustn't be up to your metzach. Ben Ish Chai says metzach, but so he just puts it over and he goes into his own world. Yeah. No one's questions, right? He's David. It's okay, he can do it. So we should all be zochet to be able to do that, not worry what other people think, Yeah, sorry about digressing for a second because there is a lot of details, but we're going over it again and again, shwaya, and making sense of it. So over here, 328, we said 338, I mean, we brought down the vat. So now the next place is going to be Elokei of Shimon Esrei, where we're going to bring down the Nai of Tivuna. The Nai of Tivuna, that's what we want to do next. Right? There we are. 3, 4, 3, 3. 4, 3, 3. So whoever's watching the shiur, look on page 433. We won't have time to go through all the pages on the screen. We'll do some. So in the Elokeis, we see there's a set pattern. We start with kav yamin, kav small, and kav emsa. So we have to do each Elokei one side. Okay. So on 433, we're doing the kav yamin, and we're bringing down. What do we say we're bringing down? We brought down the vak already, so we have to bring now the gar and put the gar in the gar. Yeah, and then we push everything down. Okay, so what do we have on top? Chokhmah. On the right side is chokhmah. The right side of the page is the chokhmah of tuna. Does that make sense? Yeah, and the chokhmah of tuna is going to push that, go to the right side, and it's actually going to be, instead of pushing everything down, we don't push them down over here. We just leave, also goes to Chabad. So also goes to the place of chokhmah. Instead of pushing, shunting it all down, we don't shunt it all down. We just leave it over there. So you got chokhmah and chesed in makom chokhmah. You get me? Chokhmah and chesed isn't chokhmah.
Say it again.
Chokhmah and chesed, you see over here, this chokhmah here comes to this chesed here, and they're both on the right side. And then the bina will go to the left side, and that will come to the middle, where the tiferet is. Just want to see if I can get at least this one on the screen, but it's so many pages to go through.
The yellow in the middle is that the actual thing.
The yellow pictures at the bottom of the page is where you build up the kelim.
In the middle.
In the middle. That's called the aliyat perkin, to build up the kelim. You understand?
They're the top.
Well, yeah. That's where it comes in exactly. Yeah, you can see it. Very good, beautiful, right? So behind the netzach, it says ateret into the chesed. It says into the chesed. The red column behind is the ones of Ima, of this Tuvuna that we're doing. But then on the left side of the page, you've also got the Netzach of Abba, which is coming as well at the same time. So if you look at the picture in the middle, you've now got three on the same level. You've got Netzach of Abba, into the Chesed of Ima, and behind that you've got the Chesed, which already came down in Nechad of Shema. Does anyone understand what I'm saying?
Why into the chesed of Ima?
Because the Chesed of Ima is already there from the Nechad of Shema.
Is it not into new kelim of Abba?
Show me what you mean.
The netzach of Abba.
The Netzach of Abba is now
To the chokhmah
of it is the Kli Chochmah Dizah, yeah. But that's where it is. They're all in the Kli Chochmah.
In a different people.
They're in the same place. They're next to each other, I'm saying. One in front, one behind. Okay? One in front, one behind. But in the same height, let's say. Yeah? It's a machloket, but I agree with, and that's how we hold. We discussed with Ravatia years ago, yeah? We see from a kavanah after this, when you get to the kavanah chasadim tovim, quite clearly that this kli of our chokhmah of Abba, of the one meaning which is the left on the left, is made to the one on the right. I mean, it goes. There's a hara that comes down. To maybe show you what I mean. If you look up, because we've got the sidurim. If you look in just to make it a bit clearer what you're asking me. Look at page 475. Exactly what you're talking about, right? On page 475, there's a picture we've done at the bottom. Can you see a picture at the bottom where you've got like this picture here, right? So what you see in this kavanah and the sidur, it says very clearly that the kli of Abba is married to the kli of Ima, the one above to the one below. And that's how you get bach of the atbach. Yeah. So you see from there the separate kelim.
But the demand on the oath, yeah.
Could be, I don't know what
The
the
whole Achor only has one.
The problem is in the Siddur, they only put one kli. That's where the problem came from. In the Siddur and Fast, it's only got one kli. In the new Siddur, they put a second kli, one for each of them. Yeah, but it's a pilpul we don't need to get involved with right now. But it's great that you asked the question. Hashem, you're on the ball. Yeah. So Rabotai, now what we've done over here is we've done the Kav Yamin, then we do a Lokei Yitzchak, 3 pages later, 439. Then you'll be left side, and then Elokei Yaakov, and we finished with all the three. Okay, so if we look at the picture 444, on 444, and look at the picture toward the top of the page in the middle, we'll see how it all looks. 3 columns of kavanot. There we go. We've got 3 columns of kavanot, and the one inside, one in front of the other. The yellow one is the last one that just came in Elokei Yaakov. Yeah. That's what it looks like. What have we got? Everything of Tfuna is now in a Kli, but it's not in the right Kli. Meaning the top 2 levels of Chabad and Chagat are both in Chabad. And then Nai is in Chagat, but there's nothing in Nai. So we have to push those ones down. When do they go down? Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanora. Hagadol, Gibor, we go back to the ones of Tfuna, and we do the right, left, and middle. And then they go down. If you look, Hagadol is on page 456. Yeah? And we'll see how they go down. Look at the picture 456. So we get to the bottom of the page. The Khan has gone down to where it belongs. And the Chabad is still above. Can you see it? On 456 at the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
If you haven't chapped this yet, this picture, then you won't appreciate it. But if you chap it, it's like, wow, that's now I can visualize it. Yeah, it's only a model. It doesn't mean it's really like that in the Olamot. So imagine that it's yellow and it's these colors. What I put is real like that. It's a sword. It's Hakshama. It's not really like that, but it's a model of what it looks like. It's a tabulation of it, right? Clear, everyone?
Yeah.
There. Any questions? Please tell me if there's any questions. Don't be shy. Tell me. Ask me. Yeah, David. You can see, yeah, Baruch Hashem. So we can see what's going on, right? So, so that's the okay. Then we've done Gibor Giwan Nora. So we finished with Hanora, 460. Later on, 464. We'll see the whole of that line is now in its place. The middle, the whole middle set, the whole Vak is in Vak. Vak is gone to Vak. There's more complicated issues here, which again, if we start going into them, will take us away from the story, right? Because really the truth is, the last night doesn't go down because the Beit HaMikdash is a Chorban. So it stays above, but it's Me'ir. That's why it says the He'arat night. But the actual night remains above in the Chagat. But it's just throwing in a little bit of information. I'm not expecting you to do it. So I don't say something which is wrong. Yeah? I wouldn't say something which is incorrect. But you can see from the picture at the bottom of 464, how everything in the vak of this is the same vak, by the way. Now, if you look at this section here, this vak here, right? See this vak here?
Yeah.
So this vak here is exactly the same vak which came down Echad of Shema. In Echad of Shema, it came down into Chabad Chaga, right? Now, finally, he's arrived home in vak, in the Kelim of vak. Well, it wasn't the Kelim of vak. Now he's in the Kelim of vak. Clear? Okay, so we've understand how that works, and then you've got to do the same thing for Abba in Koneh, in Gomel, and Koneh Akol. It'll be the same thing. So we jump quickly to Koneh Akol. Page 487. You see 4487? So you see how everything on the Abba side is also what we're looking at the bottom of the page is now brought in Yaakov and Rachel. So don't look at the blue ones, but behind the blue ones, you can see the Chagat came in. So everything's in place over there. That's what we wanted to show over there, that it's in place. Okay, it's not, yeah. Okay. The bar two is only in the middle, but it's all three are there. I can't explain that now. But in this picture, it's telling you that everything's there. Whether it's clear or not clear. That's what the picture's supposed to be showing us, that everything's there. Let's just show it over here. The three yellow ones came in over here. And above it, in the middle section, is the Ba'atu. That Ba'atu, straight between Vedat, is really is a Chabad. And that then goes across to the three. It's like when it comes to the neck and there's only a small section, then it goes to the body and it becomes three wide apart. So it comes down and then it's mitpazel into three. Right? But when it comes through the dart, all three are only in the dart. Okay, so that's what we've seen now, an overview what happens. And now we go back to the beginning of the Birurim. Now, well, let's come back to the story on the board over here. So we explained that only all of this that's come over here that we brought up, when it first started coming up from the Birurim, it was only the Malchut of Ben, right? There's a Malchut of Ben, which is 1/20th of everything, right? And that goes through all the Hechalot, Asiyah, Yetzirah, Bria, until you get to Echad of Shema, right? Now, Echad of Shema, there was a Zivug. That Zivug brought down 9/10, the other 9/10 of the Ben, and 10 out of 10 of the Ma. You understand? And the zivug of the Ma and the Ben brings this down to join the 1/10 which was there, right? So that joins with that, and you get 20. You get 10 out of 10 for the Ma and 10 out of 10 of the Ben, right? And then
So this all happens during Echad?
yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing that happens is the zivug.
Right.
When that zivug takes place, then we have to build up all the pasufim. Atik v'no, karich v'no, kaba v'imazon, right? We build them all up. Where is that? Let's look it up in Milat Echad of Shema. We'll see it. Bezrat Hashem. Okay, so the zivug is on page 322. What do you see in 322? You see how everything goes up to Absag the Ak. It means we take out all the Achol which we had, and we take it all up to Shemaim, to Ruma Ma'alot, to bring down the Panim. So look at section number 9. Here. You see in section number 9, Ab, the Ab, and Ag the Sag. It says, Ve'chaven lezaveg, section number 9. You got it on page 322? Ve'chaven lezaveg, Ab the Sag the Ak, Shehem ta'ameh Ab, Im ta'ameh Sag. That means the Ab, and the Ab the Sag. Right? And then in number 10, it says, V'motzima yas dema metzach. You take out the 10 sfirot which come out from the metzach. There's a zivug between the metzach and the enaim. The metzach and enaim of Ak. And that zivug, which takes place over there, it brings out another 19 parts. Im tashlum hayud sfir. What does it mean, tashlum? What does the word tashlum mean? The other 9/10. It was only 1/10, which was the Biur and the Rafach that we brought up. So it didn't say tashlum for the first one, right? By the ma, you bring out 10 sfirot, neto, completely. But by the ben, you don't need 10 because you already got 1/10. The Malchut came out in Maseh Bereshit. So you bring then the tashlum, which is the 9/10, right? And now you've got 20. Now what we're doing after that is building up the parts of him. So you see there's all these different zivugim. Although Jeremy will tell you that we learned last week that's not really what it is, but it gives us the idea. You're building up all the parts of him until you get down to page 325, a few pages later. And now after you build up Atik Venuk, Arich Venuk, you come to Abba Ve'ima. Now Abba Ve'ima are the parents of Zah. So that's where more things have to happen. So you look at that, this zivug is the main zivug that we're talking about of Abba Ve'ima. That's molid the mochin of the panim that we have to, of the gadlut, let's say, that we have to bring down. Yeah, and that's where they created. Again, I'm not asking you to remember all of this in the Siddur, but remember the story at least, right? This is where the shefa of the patsum of Zanuk is being created, right? That's where it's created. So now let's go. Is that clear, right? Just we've got an idea of what's going on in the Siddur. Right? We have done it before, generally as headings, and I'd like to eventually go back and do everything in detail. But it's no point doing the detail you haven't got the general picture. That's so key, but based on what we said today, to get that general picture. Yeah, it's been an hour just of going back on putting things into context. So in the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the shiur, now we'll go back to what we've been doing the last few weeks, which seems so much more complicated than it needed to be. We put it into this context. It'd be nicer to have this shiur before then, but we're really working out where everybody's holding now. Okay, so now any questions on this before we go back? Then we're going to go back to the beginning of the siddur. Okay, so from this point onwards, we did chazara of how we build up, we molid the mochin, the new mochin, how the 9/10 of the ben joins up with the 1/10, which was everything that this whole world has in it from the time of creation. And we join them up with another 10 parts of the ma, and then there's a zachar and a kiva, and we build up all the parts of him, zachar and a kiva, each. So basically, you know how it works. So there'll be a zivug, and you create a tigvenuk. A tigvenuk will take the meitav, I mean the best parts of the birurim, and leave behind the she'erit. The she'erit, atik venuk, will then go to make another zivug, and you see this one, then another zivug, atik venuk, arich venuk. And you'll build up now the male side of arich and the female side of arich, and they'll take the best of what's left, right? And then the she'erit, they'll make a zivug, and they'll give birth to the next parzuf, which is Abba Ve'ima and Yashas, and Yashut. From Abba Ve'ima, and then really more from Yashut, we get to Zanuk, and that's our avodah. Our avodah in all of the kavanot is always to get to Zanuk because they're our parents. This world we get everything from there. Ben Ish Chai wrote in Al Yosef Chai many pages to explain that the zun of the parents, our parents of our neshamot, they gave birth to us. And when we pray, we can only reach Zanuk. From there, we can say, like on Yom Kippur, Shomea Tefillah, right? There's an ozen that listens. So it says you have to take your tefillot to Zun, and then Zun the prayers will be heard, and even what's above will hear. And then the Rachamim will come down from there. But we can't reach there. We can only take it to Zanuk of Atzilut. We can't go beyond that. But what happens after that is the effects of reaching there that's done for us. But we personally can't make it go there, right? That's the ozen that it says ozen the Abba or the ozen the Ima that listens from where we get to. If we get out tefillot to Zah and Zun to Atzilut, then the ozen Ha'ilyon will listen to what we're saying. Okay, just an idea. So now we're going to go back to the beginning. So we talked about bringing in the birurim. So we said there was a zivug kachbad, yeah, that starts off the whole shacharit to give us the kach to be the birurim, and then we said that now we're going to the nitty-gritty. First of all we need to know there was a zivug kachbad to start off the process. Now, what is that process? It's the birurim. The birurim are that 1/10 of ben, that 1/10 of ben down there that came out of Maseh Bereshit and then fell down, right? Those are the sparks that Rav Nachman's talking about the whole time, right? Right? Those are the holy sparks in the klipot, in the husks. Yeah. Right? Imagine a kernel of barley and it's got a husk on it, like klipot, right? So you have to take them out the kali, right? Yeah, the kali, from the kali noga, eventually gets the kali noga, we take it out, okay? So they have to work very hard to get it out, to break the shell and take it out. Yeah, get out for shachrit, modani, and all the abba ma'asim, and then we get to the pnimiyut ha'olamot. Yeah, we want to start the korbanot. So before we start the korbanot, the kavanah is to take all the birim out and have them ready. So when we get to the word ketoret and ketoret asamim, they're going to come into the olamot, right? That's what we want to know. So one more thing for today is to remind ourselves while we're on a high, right? Just look in this middle section over here for a second. I don't want to. No one can rub it out. I think finish with this for now. If we just get this general point that I'm going to say now, everything else will fit into it, right? We said there's the chitzoniyut ha'olamot, the tabla of the Ale Nahar, and the pnimiyut ha'olamot. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6, 7, 8, right? These are called bia, and this is called atzilut de atzilut. This is called bia. This is called atzilut. And all of this here, this section is also atzilut. And then there's bria, yetzirah, and asiyah. Okay? So we have to bring the hechalot, we have to bring the bria up to these different places. Now I'm separating these ones from these ones. There's 1 and there's 5. Yeah? Well, yeah.
But the person, so pnimiyut is just absolute. It's not absolute or absolute as it is with chitzoniyut.
The whole thing is all this is pnimiyut.
Ah,
All pnimiyut.
Yeah.
That's called the chitzoniyut, the pnimiyut. That's called the pnimiyut, the pnimiyut. These are all titles just so we can understand what we're talking about. When the birurim come in, there's 2 lots of birurim. Let's say there's a red box and there's a black box. Right? The black box that comes in, I'm going to sit down in my chair because it's easier. I hope you'll be able to see. I'm going to put my head back, right? The black box that comes in is always going to stay in this side of the olamot. It's just going to go like that, and then like that, and like that, and like that. So they keep on going like this, meaning 6, 7, 8, yeah? But it never leaves this outer section. Right? It's never going to end up remaining in 5 or 1. You understand? Is that clear? It's going to go from there to that one and then go back to that one. It's always going to be on the outer 3. You see what I'm saying? The outer 3, either these 3 or these 3. Make sense? That's called bia tachtonim. Right? But there's these ones that come in. Remember, they come in all the different places. Then we take them up. We take this one up, join to that one, and that one goes up. These ones here, although they're going to start in these 3 over here, this is where they come in over here. Actually, go up over here. They really, that shouldn't have been there. Should have been, that red box should have been over here. These ones have to eventually end up in number 1 over here. You understand? And that's what's complicated to understand. But you must get just this point. This red box does not belong there, and it does not belong there. It belongs there. And it's only going to get there tomorrow. Not going to get there today. The first day we're going to take it up until we get to Echal Avad Debriya. So it's going to get stuck in this olam over here. In Echal Avad Debriya. So this red box is going to end up over here. And that's when we do the kavanah of Echad U'Shma, what we did today that we talked about from Echad and in Shmon Esrei. On this is all on the second day, because the first day it gets up to there, then it goes back down, it comes back on the second day, and then we do the kavanah of Shema, Shmon Esrei. And that kavanah in Echad U'Shma is already in 1. It's already in number 1. When you did the kavanah on that page of Echad U'Shma, the first kavanah we did when the Mochin came down into the Kelim, that's already in number 1. How do we know that? Because it's a Chaim, the Shemot of the Kelim in this Atzilut is different to the Shemot of the Kelim in this 2, 3, and 4. And when you look at the Siddur, if Echad Shema, it's got the names of the kelim of number one. So that's how we know we got to number one already on the second day. Okay? Is that clear? Right? So what did we say just now? We said that the Birim that come in are two different families. One stays in Bia, the Atzilut goes up and stays in Bia, the Olamot, and one goes on to the Atzilut of the Olamot on the second day. So even when you see, so on the first day they call Birim Chadashim. On the second day they call Bia de Atzilut. Because they come back, they got to there and they go back down. Right? On the second day when they go back up, they become Atzilut de Atzilut. So they've got three different names depending where they are. In the beginning, they're Birim Chadashim. By the end of the first day, they're called Biyad Atzilut when they come back down. So tomorrow when we start the job, we call them Biyad Atzilut. When we finish the job on the second day, at the end of Shemona Esrei, even though Echad of Shema already, they're called Atzilut, the Atzilut. Okay? So all what we talked about going to the Hechalot to do all those work, even if you don't, if you can do what's written, what we learned in the previous weeks, all the nitty-gritty, each Hechal, let's talk about how it works. We'll end with this, right? Is that we said we bring in the Biurim into each of the Hechalot. And then each Hechal, we have to fix both of these. The ones that are going to stay in Bia and the ones which are going to go all the way up and end up in Echad, right? We're going to fix both of them in each Hechal. How do we do it? The ones of yesterday which came back down, there's a zivug of their gar to their zun, and that zun is called the mevarer. It gives a special type of shafa called ksut when you're not in Asiya. And then it gives that to the ones of today, the Burim Chadashim of today, and then they get Tikkun Ktsat. Right? The red ones get Tikkun Ktsat, the black ones get fixed completely. And the ones then go up to the next one. And then you make a Tikkun for the ones that are staying there and the ones which are going to go up. Then there'll be two that are going to go up to the third one. And then the three will go up to the fourth one. Until they all go through Asiya. And what happens in each Hechal? So you have to break it down. We said each Hechal has got the name of that particular sphere that you're in. Then you have to break that down into 5 parts of him. And then each one of them's got Sheva Hechalot. And in one, and there's a Yesod in the one which is in the Atik of that particular one. If it's Yesod for the first Hechal. That's where the Zul yesterday and the guy yesterday came down and are waiting to do the Tikkun Tzat to the ones of today. Now, if you don't get all of that, okay, Alvai, we'd be able to get all of that. But even if we just went to Siddur, so we get to Ezra Mekomad, I know what's going on over there, and you can see the picture even in the Siddur as you're doing a GPS. Something happened over there, the Burim got fixed. Next one, right? So you get Shlamim Kadashim. Now we finish Asya. Now we go to Yetzirah. Hallelujahs. Rafach Shema. Now we get to Echad Shema. We can start bringing down all the Mochin. So yalla, we know what we're doing. We're ready to go. Okay. And then we build in more depth and more depth and more depth, more pratyut until we can get it more fine-tuned and more fine-tuned and more fine-tuned. And that stuff would take our whole lifetime. But at least set for ourselves the goal of what we can achieve. I'm going to at least aim to get that much, to get that basic picture of what we did today. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ואמן, השם ישמור כל ישראל, יסוד טובות, ונזכה לחודש טוב, חודש יום, how does it go? חודש, יום ראשון החודש. How does it say? No, it says in the pasuk. יום, חודש ראשון, it's got a name, יום ראשון חודש. No. But it says over there that Nisan is called the Yom Rishon. No, that's in Parashat Bo. I'm talking about in when it talks about it says Chodesh Rishon. It's called Chodesh Rishon. It's the only one that's got a name. It says Yom Rishon la Chodesh Rishon. It says calls it Rosh Chodesh.